Thanks for joining us, and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Periodically, we'll bring you true stories of angelic encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. When we come back, we'll begin our next episode. Hello again, and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Today's subject is going to be about the Baltic Dry Index. I'm going to be the first to admit I don't know much about that other than the fact that it has to do with trade, goods, and other things, food, that come into the country. Stan Johnson has done a lot of research on this subject, and in today's podcast, he's going to explain what's going on with that. I know we've seen a lot of increase in the price of food and goods this whole year. I do think Stan has his finger on the pulse of a lot of this stuff, and I think you'll find this podcast today very educational and informative. So here now is Stan Johnson talking about the dying Baltic Dry Index.
Again, our topic today is the Baltic Index, the Dry Baltic Index, dead? Now, let me back up. We've covered this before, so I'm going to move fairly quickly. However, the thing I want to point out is, what if, when Coverstone was told this is going to happen in December, he didn't specifically get told it was going to happen in December of 2020? He was told simply it'd be in December. So my question today is, and I think I'm going to be able to show you, that the December the angel was referring to may have been December 2021. Watch. Okay, so he gets the angel to come to him in the night in this dream, September 4, 2020. I saw the calendar to December, and I saw a finger underlined slowly, like it was pushing slowly and forcefully under the line of the name December. But again, ask yourself, could it be December 2021 rather than 2020? Because it didn't happen in 2020. The name December, and it flipped over to January, meaning what he's going to talk about happens between a December and a January. If it's going to happen, and we're going to do our best to try to pray this away. We don't want this to come. It flipped over to January, then underlined, it was slow and pushing. I saw long food lines. I saw people waiting for what seemed to be like hours, standing in line, not in cars. Why were they not in cars? I'm going to say I think it's because the suitcase nukes got set off, and it fried the computer chips. People's cars don't start. You can't pump gasoline out of the ground. Everything is just stopped. The water is not in the faucets. I mean, the whole world, as far as America is concerned, stops. Seemed like hours standing in line, not in cars. I saw this throughout the nation. I saw ships in ports. Now, that's the point I want to get to. So one of the first things he sees that lets us know this is getting close is ships in ports. I'm about to show you that. I saw ships in ports on both the east and the west coast that were sitting idle. There was nothing moving at sea, nothing. I saw a headline that said, the Baltic Dry Index is dead. They said that nothing was moving in trade around the world. Now let's go to dailymail.com. The headline says, satellite image shows more than 60 container ships waiting to dock at jammed LA port. U.S. supply chain crunch forces FedEx to reroute 600,000, hear that, 600,000 packages a day, and Costco to limit purchases of toilet paper, cleaning products, and water. Now this goes on to say that essentially the Baltic Dry Index is drying up. It's not totally gone, but it's getting close. What did it say? 200 ships out there? 200 ships? Is that what it said? Yeah, 600 packages, but 62 cargo ships out in the bay, and they can't dock. Well, why? They're blaming it on COVID, but I'm going to say it's not COVID. I believe it's the Moloch and Baal worshipers that really do control a lot of our world. And what are they doing? They're shutting it down. Why are they shutting it down? Because they're getting tired of having them and their buddies arrested. Now, the question I'm posing to you is this going on because of COVID? Is this going on because the owners don't want their wherewithals blown up because they know that suitcase nukes are about to go off? The Dry Index is a shipping and trade index which measures the cost of transporting raw materials. Members assess price levels for given shipping paths, a product to transport, and time to deliver or the speed of delivery. Well, this article comes to us from Bloomberg Business Week. Headline, Just Get Me a Box, Inside the Brutal Realities of Supply Chain Hell. It goes on to say, this lady's saying that she can't get faucets, sinks, toilets skipping down, that right now they are in the biggest shockwave in the global trade market since roughly 7 decades. In other words, there's never been a pileup of ships out there that can't seem to get into the docks to get their merchandise off. Well, if the merchandise doesn't get off the ships, then what? We don't get it. And unfortunately, our supply chain these days is we're a global nation, we're a global economy, and a lot of our stuff in America comes from other nations. The article goes on to say 2 years ago, a 40-foot container costs less than $2,000 to transport the goods from Asia to the United States. Now, that same container, not $2,000, now it's roughly $25,000. That's a 10-time increase plus. So does that mean we're about to see the price of goods go up 10 times? There's no other way you can cut it. So we're about to see, and by the way, that is what the prophecies say, that we're about to see everything go up about 10 times. What cost $1 now costs $10, $20. Now let's go back to the dream. I saw the St. Louis Arch. I saw people standing under it, wearing expensive business suits and watches. They have in their hand large briefcases. Now listen to this. And he at this time didn't even know there was suitcase nukes. But see, God knows. Large briefcases that reminded me of nuclear suitcases. Voila! That's what he's saying in the dream. Suddenly their alarms went off. They all jumped in the cars and drove off. I noted that there were no Christmas lights this December. Well, there was last December in 2020. But maybe we're about to not see that in 2021. Here's the question. If the Baltic Index is drying up, which was part of his dream, is the rest of the dream about to also come to pass? And the answer is, not if I have anything to do with it, not if you have anything to do with it. If our prayers be answered, this is not going to happen. But we better be praying. Goes on to say there were no sales mentioned on Christmas. It was great sadness over the land. But there were Christians who stood out because they had faith. They had hope in Christ. They looked like burning charcoal, carrying torches. A lot of people rejected their approach, but they kept up the faith. They did not back down, telling people, you need Jesus. They kept telling people desperately, you need Jesus at this moment. You need Jesus now. You need Jesus. You need Jesus. Don't wait. What the angel, or what the audible was tell me, August 8, 2015, sitting right here in this chair, looking at that monitor, I heard this is the time of miracles. Then he downloaded in my heart, as the judgment hits, so will my miracles. Miracles like no one has seen, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. Is this the judgment? Are we now seeing the Baltic Index, as was said in the early part of his dream, which is associated with apparently suitcase nukes? So is this saying suitcase nukes are about to go off? Let's go on. So, about the suitcase nukes, I'm not going into a lot of detail, but I will say November 1998, Stanislav Lunev, the highest-ranking Russian military officer ever to defect from Russia, made a Prophecy Club DVD, which you can watch at prophecyclub.com, called Russian Defector Warns America. In this video, he stated that 50, quote, lost in Russia suitcase nuclear bombs, or we should say, given to the Moloch and Baal worshippers as their Samson option. So if they're taken out, they could explode them. And it's not just in America. It's in many nations around the world, because this is how they survive as blackmail. Anyway, let's go back to the dream. I saw what looked like shopping malls had been converted into shelters or living quarters. Like after Hurricane Katrina, the people sheltered in football stadiums. The businesses in the shopping malls were shuttered, people on cots. I saw food outreaches. People were misplaced. Not like a homeless shelter, it was something like really bad had happened. People were in shelters. I continued to see sheltered properties, people in homes wearing coats, clothes, curtains. And that had to be consistent. That was a consistent vision. People inside their homes looking out at what's going on. When I look at people looking out their curtains, I see more of this dark gray snow stuff on the road. Dark gray snow stuff? What's dark gray snow stuff? My opinion, it's fallout. That's what you call fallout. Matter of fact, Dimitri was even shown what fallout smells like. And anyway, let's go on. It wasn't white pure snow like after a fresh snowfall. Now, if you're looking at this video, you see I'm going to send you to empshield.com if you don't want your computer chips to be fried in your house and in your home. If you want your car to still run after these suitcase nukes go off, then my advice is go check out empshield.com. Promo code there is prophecy. And heavensharvest.com if you need emergency food. Promo code there is STAN. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com if you need some kind of gold and silver. Let's go on, though. This is August 4th, 2020. This is after the Beirut failed nuclear blast. I say that, and I tried to find it. It was either HowlTurnerRadioShow.com or Benjamin Fulford, and they said that it was a failed nuclear blast. In other words, it never reached full critical mass. It was almost like it was only like kind of a half nuke that went off, but look at what it did. Gray ash and debris, gray ash and debris, gray ash and debris, and all of these pictures. You're talking about that's a very, very powerful bomb, and that was probably not near as powerful as a suitcase nuke. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of blood, and when it has that mushroom going up like that, that's not a conventional weapon. That is nuclear. See, a nuclear has the telephone pole with a mushroom on top. Well, this has a telephone pole, but it didn't mushroom because it didn't reach critical mass. It was only like a half nuke. It never totally did all of the damage. Now, back to what Coverstone was told. I saw headlines reading, "National outages plague the Southwest. Americans don't know who to blame for the darkness." Well, we can tell them. We can tell them it's the Moloch and Baal worshippers that own and control those suitcase nukes. But see, the average person doesn't know that, and they certainly wouldn't listen to me and you telling them, as I'm sure you probably tried to tell them. He said, I saw more headlines, market crashes, yields lost. I saw tired crowds. Many had lost resolve to fight. Here it is. Groups of Christians were going around spreading hope. See, that's what we're doing right now. We're putting down our roots into the rock so that when the winds blow and the rains come, our house is not going to fall. We're not going to get down. We're not going to get depressed. We know this is coming. This is soul time, soul winning time. We've been preparing for this. People won't listen about Jesus right now, but you let a few suitcase nukes hit, you let the dollar die, you let some of the goods get cut off, like the Baltic Index, and look, you can see it is happening. Okay, when the Baltic Index is now being shut down, and there it is, I think that the rest of the dream is probably just around the corner. I saw lights all over the country. These lights were churches. Churches kept keeping warmth and hope in their communities. Then the white figure rose out of one of those lights and said, brace yourself. Brace yourself on the word and my promises. Do not rely on your own strength. Now, that was a year ago. That was September 4th. Okay, here we are now. September 28th. Is it about to come to pass? Well, again, not if I have anything to do with it. We got to keep praying.
We'll be right back with more right after this. Hello again, this is The Watchman. Please join us each week for an exciting and inspirational podcast dealing with angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. So tune in each week and share it with your friends. After all, they could use a little inspiration in their life, too. That's the Watchman on the Wall podcast, and now you can find us on YouTube. We return you now to Stan Johnson talking about the Coverstone dreams and the latest news of the dying Baltic Dry Index.
Now, let me tie this together with something else. This was on HalTurnerRadioShow.com. He said something happened with a volcano or eruption. He says all of a sudden, the activity just stopped. How do you stop an earthquake in the middle of it? How do you stop a volcanic eruption? Well, you can't. Unless you are causing it. You remember the Solemn September Assembly? We prayed that God would shut down their earthquake machine. We prayed this would happen. I believe it's an answer to a prayer. I also believe it is God protecting us from that volcano sliding into the Atlantic and coming across and destroying the East Coast. Here's more on it, but I already covered that yesterday, so I'm going to keep going. I also covered this yesterday, but the point I'm trying to make here, I'm not going into the details. What I'm trying to say is, all of a sudden, over the last few weeks, there's a whole lot of stuff that is in the process of taking place. And so let me refresh your memory on this. Daniel 9:24 says 70 weeks, or it's saying 490 years, are assigned to judgment to Jerusalem. 483 of those years have been fulfilled, to cut it short. That means there's 7 years left, as in a 7-year tribulation. Now, what starts that? In my opinion, Revelation 6:1, I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder. When that first seal opens, I want to believe that we get to hear that thunder. And I pray we do. But down in Daniel 9:27, it says, and he, meaning the Antichrist, shall confirm a covenant with many nations for 1 week, or 1 Shavuot, or 1 7-year time period. Now, could it be that that has already started? I don't want to believe that, but at the same time, I'm watching. I also want to refresh your memory, and again, I've covered all this the last couple of days, so I'm not going to go into all the details. But the point is, remember, this is Pope Francis, and he's saying this year he wants to start a 7-year Laudato Si, or an action plan. Here's all of the articles talking about it, all the details. You can pause it and look at it. He's saying we want to have 7 years. Why? Because we want to see that Mother Earth is taken care of. What he's doing is putting Mother Earth ahead of the lives of the humans on the planet. So the problem is we need to get rid of the humans, because we get rid of the humans, then the Earth can survive. Craziness. It's excuses to kill people. Now let me go and point out a couple other things here. This was in the Coverstone's most recent dream, dated September 23rd, 2021. He's calling it the specialist. Ties in here. Now, I'm not covering all of it, just covering a couple of things. He said, I saw the screen saying, avoid the unvaccinated. These people are dangerous. Please inform authorities of all sightings, referring to unvaccinated people. We are seeing the news tighten more and more and more. I'm getting emails from people saying, I'm losing my job unless I take the vaccine. What do I do? So that's all part of it. We're seeing a lot of these things lining up. This is from the Washington Post. It says international travel is about to get more complicated for unvaccinated Americans. So we see confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. Part of the dream said, what you're seeing is the present future. I believe he's saying there that unless we pray, unless there is massive arrests, an internal revolution, tanks rolling into Washington, if there's not a major cleaning, and I think that involves also a repentance, unless that, this is what's coming. He says that there's going to be a coming conservative purge. As I covered yesterday, it also says the Antichrist spirit is here. Well, there's scriptures that says the Antichrist spirit was here back 2,000 years ago in the New Testament. So is it saying the same thing as in the New Testament? Well, why would it say that? To me, it's saying there's a possibility that the beast has been released. If the beast has been released, that's Revelation 6:1. I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder. When that seal is opened, the bottomless pit is opened, and the beast is allowed to come out of that. His spirit comes out of that, and he inhabits somebody on earth. I had a lot of people say, hey, do you think the Antichrist is alive on earth right now? No, I don't. I do not. I think he is currently, as the Bible says, falling endlessly and helplessly in the bottomless pit, because he that sitteth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against the saints and shall overcome them. So he ascends out of the bottomless pit. However, see that word conservative, purge? Purge. I don't think that's an accident. So I did a little bit of research, and I went to Internet Movie Database, and I put in the word purge. You can see there's over 200 different videos, movies, TV programs, all having to do with purge, because this is their plan. They want to kill anybody and everybody that hasn't taken the mark. That's what it's referring to here. So all of a sudden we see a lot of things lining up, brothers and sisters, like we've never seen in our life. Back to the dream. He says, you must stay braced. Every believer is about to have their bracing revealed, meaning who we are is about to be tested. Some will fall, some will stand. That's what he's really saying. I warn you to take the salve from your eyes, meaning stop thinking that there's going to be a pre-trib rapture. Stop thinking everything is fine. Stop thinking you don't need to know about the end times. You don't need Jesus. You don't need the church. You don't need the Bible. You don't need none of that stuff. Stop thinking that way. That's what he's saying. Instead, stop coating your life with wine. Wine is another word for sin. I do not think he ate an apple, Adam and Eve. I think it was a grape. Everything in the Bible having to do with grape and wine press, all bad stuff. Stop coating your life with wine or sin and stay fully sober as the day has arrived. It didn't say it's close. Last year, the angel was saying, it's close. Brace, brace, brace yourself. Brace yourself. Brace, brace, brace yourself. He's not saying that now. Now he's saying the day has arrived. I don't want to believe that's the start of the tribulation, but I think it is saying that the judgment is about to arrive, and it's going to be the testing of your life. Well, what is the ultimate test? The ultimate test, my brothers and sisters, is not the mask. It's not even suitcase nukes or a Madrid or New Madrid earthquake. I keep wanting to say Madrid. New Madrid. The ultimate test is the mark of the beast. So in my interpretation there, it's saying get the sin out, because at least, the very least, is judgment has arrived and you're about to be tested. So, the test. I covered this yesterday. There's two things we cannot bend the knee to. The beast and his image. There's two marks we cannot take. And that is the mark of the beast. That's what it looks like. And the number of the beast. Back to the dream. Then he touched my forehead. He marked me. He says, I'm marking those who are mine, and I will walk beside them in the fire. Now, why didn't he say the water? Because I don't think that there is going to be an immediate tsunami. I think that there's probably a tsunami coming to the East Coast, but I do not think it's immediate. By the way, I said I do not have a dream. I did get one dream from one person about a tsunami on the East Coast from the Canary Island volcano going down into the Atlantic. And he had it back in 2012, I believe it was. Pretty credible, but that's only one person. So I got to have two people, mouth of two or three witnesses, let a thing be established. Let me go on here. So he says, I'm marking those who are mine, and I will walk beside them in the fire, even though some of you here in this country will meet with me soon on the other side. Wow. Did he not just say that they're about to die? Did he not just say there's about to be some Christians die? And did he not just say that they're about to die by fire? And what is the fire? Is that suitcase nukes? I mean, we can't escape that possible interpretation. He grabbed my hand, squeezed until I could feel the goodness, and he said, be faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Okay, so let's back up. Here he says, it's the day has arrived for the testing of your life. The day has arrived for the testing of your life. Skip down. Then it says, be faithful unto death, I'll give you the crown of life. What death? if you look at it, he's saying it's a death by fire. That sounds nuclear. And he says, some are about to meet me on the other side. If you put that together, I'm not saying this. If you put it together, he says, I'm marking some of those that I'm going to protect, but there's some of them about to be with me on the other side. What he's saying is that there's about to be a bunch of Christians die by fire, but he's saying, be faithful unto death, and I'll give you a crown of life. If you put it together, we can't escape that interpretation. And then we have the two cows. Okay, so the two cows were both revealed to the public on the same day. One was born on the Shemitah, one was born the day before the Shemitah. One is a black and white cow with a nice pristine 7 across his forehead. The other one is a solid red cow with a scribbled 7 across his forehead. Now, the Shemitah started September 25th of 2014. And the interpretation is, and we can't escape this, is the black and white cow is saying that there's 7 years of plenty, which started September 25th, 2014. The Shemitah only comes around 7 years, once every 7 years, and it comes on the Feast of Trumpets, which just happens to be the day, in my opinion, the tribulation starts on some future Feast of Trumpets, and Jesus returns on some future Feast of Trumpets. So in that it's a Shemitah, the interpretation is this is saying 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine, and those 7 years would be. The famine starts September 6, 2021, I believe, and I will go on the record saying this, I believe the famine has started. Now, when you got 62 ships parked out in the Pacific that can't unload their goods, obviously a famine is on the way, right? Okay? I mean, just like the Baltic Dry Index is dead, Coverstone was told. Well, it appears like it's dying right now. Shane Warren was told that the dollar would be blowing worthless as leaves in the wind, and it would be caused because they stopped selling oil for dollars. Well, as of August 24th, the Saudi Arabians signed an agreement with the Russians to now protect them, not the U.S. And so the dollar being the petrodollar, you can't buy oil in anything but dollars anymore. That's gone, meaning the death of the dollar is now in progress. All of this stuff is happening. That's the reason I wanted to go through. I know we covered several things, but sometimes we got to go back and we got to look at it from a bird's eye view. We got to back up and look and see what all of these prophecies are really saying. Well, I believe they're really saying this dry index, this Baltic dry index, is directly related to suitcase nukes.
Hello again, this is The Watchman. Please join us on our new video channel called Encounters from Beyond the Veil. It's the same exciting content as our audio podcast, but in a shorter, but yet a video format. Also, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our episodes. That's Encounters from Beyond the Veil, exclusively found on YouTube. Well, thanks again for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Also, give us a like. We welcome any comments or suggestions you might have. We also ask you to subscribe so that you will be notified of all our future episodes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Watchman on the Wall podcast.